originally an engineer by training, but I've also had numerous careers. I've been a journalist, a filmmaker, and as a result of this journey, I've also been called an environmentalist, which isn't a term I'm particularly comfortable with, because it implies I care about the environment a lot more than anyone else, and I live my life in a very sort of pious, monk-like way in order to save the planet, and unfortunately that's really not true. And this trip really wasn't anything, I wasn't trying to prove anything. I didn't set out with a kind of message that I wanted to teach the world this is how they had to live. It was really an experiment, and it was the third in a series of 3 experiments of me trying to figure out how I could travel sustainably. And this all started about 15 years ago. Another one of my careers, I spent a lot of my time organising vehicle-based expeditions across the Sahara Desert and across the whole of Africa. This is a trip we did through the Tenere Desert in Algeria, Niger. Here's another photo from a trip we did from London to Cape Town. This is in Cameroon on some logging roads. And what I really love about these trips is how you see the world evolve as you travel overland in a way that you don't. For instance, if I got on a plane from Croydon, where I live, and flown to Cameroon, you get off the plane and suddenly the climate's different, the people are different, the geography's different, the food's different, the language is different, and it's a very alienating experience. You feel that this is another world separate to the world I'm from. But when you travel overland, you see how each country you get to evolves and is slightly different and slowly becomes a very alien environment. But it's an experience that leaves you feeling familiar and feeling at home. So that's what's always driven me and where my passion for overland journeys have come from. But unfortunately, when you drive big vehicles like this, they obviously use a lot of fuel, and there's a few problems with that. Firstly, it's expensive stuff. Secondly, there's an environmental question about man-made climate change coming from carbon emissions, which not so much anymore, but I used to always get challenged about whether there's evidence for that and all the rest of it. I think that argument's been done now. So feel free to ask questions about that afterwards if you like. But for me, really, the thing that drove me to look for alternatives to using diesel was a kind of more ethical question, or a question based more in ethics. This is a photo from Mali, which is one of the biggest countries in West Africa. It takes up a huge part of the Sahara Desert. It's the country that's home to Timbuktu. And there's pretty much one road that goes east to west, 2,000 kilometres across the whole country. And these buses drive up and down, pretty old dilapidated buses drive up and down that road. And for the villages along the way, they are